I'm in Sacramento right now on my way to Crescent City, which is about 6-hour drive from here, and it's near Oregon-California border. I'm gonna take a look at a property for Airbnb rentals. So since I'll be driving about 300 miles to get there, I'll be staying there overnight. Today's trip would be a business trip, and I'll be able to write off meals and lodging expenses. So drive here got me really think about, okay, what would it take to bring my wife on this business trip and have her travel expenses written off as well? Because near where I'm going today is Redwood National Park, beautiful park. And that's where my family and we camped last summer. We had a great time, although we did not find any Bigfoot like this bad boy right here. It's really beautiful there. Wouldn't that be nice to bring my wife with me on a trip like this so we can camp there for a couple nights and write off her travel expenses? So the topic today is to share 2 key rules, tax rules that you must know if you want to take your spouse on a business trip and write off her travel expenses. Because there's a lot of abuse historically in this area, the tax rules have evolved to be quite restrictive. So first rule is that your spouse must be a bona fide employee of your business. So what's that mean? That means she has to be a legitimate employee who clock in and clock out and perform given tasks like an employee, be on a payroll, and be treated as an employee. So this could be very difficult, maybe impossible, because imagine telling your wife that she is an employee and you're the boss. If I did that to my wife, probably not gonna fly. She'll look at me and tell me that she's a boss and I'm the employee. For sure, the lawmakers made this tax rule very, very restrictive, probably nearly impossible in certain family dynamics. So there's no really exception to this rule. So even if your spouse's presence during the trip had a solid business purpose, her trip expenses will not be deductible unless she were a legitimate employee. So rule number 2. So let's assume that your spouse is a legitimate employee of your firm. In order to deduct her travel expenses, her presence for the trip must be necessary. So what does that mean by necessary? Just being helpful by taking notes or setting up a computer or just participating at a social function at night as hostess won't be considered as necessary function in the eyes of the IRS. On the other hand, if she were a guest speaker at the conference that you're attending and her presence were needed because you had a serious medical condition like epilepsy, so that she has to accompany you, then her presence would be considered necessary for the trip. If these 2 requirements are met, then her travel expenses, including transportation costs like airfare, meals, and other incidental costs such as dry cleaning can be deductible. So when you plan a business trip where your spouse plans to accompany you, make sure to put extra attention to creating solid business reasons for her presence, especially when there's a perceived element of vacation, such as you guys are going to a place like a Bora Bora for a business trip. So hope this helps. I'll see you at the next tax clinic.